I'm Big Bob.
And I'm Ann.
What's up?
Hey, what's up? I haven't seen you for a while.
What's up, Ann?
Oh, there's plenty up today, but I think I'm more interested in our guests we have today.
Who do we have for a guest?
Me. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's
was I supposed to guess who's the guest is?
Well, you haven't seen me in a couple weeks. I figured you might want to ask me a few questions, but that's okay. Don't worry about it.
No,
I don't have any for you either. So.
A shout out to our producer, executive director, founder of Becoming the Better You.
The best you. Better you?
Better.
Sometimes I
Becoming
say, okay, never mind. Start over. Scratch.
Don't edit that. I like it when she messes up.
Because it makes him look good because he
Right.
messes up all the time.
No, I never mess up.
Yeah, you do.
So, is it a junior, Michal Fasone Jr.
No,
or just
not
Michael?
technically.
Not
Not
technically.
technically.
Fasone.
Fasone.
Sony.
Let me have this
See,
jacket.
you already messed
No,
up.
take
Let
my
me-
jet.
no,
That's-
just
I
dump
might
it
need
down.
that.
Put it down on the ground. You don't need it.
All right, it's
You're
right
covering
here.
up here. Okay.
A crotch.
Yeah. Look at that. What a cute
What kind of
Nice
relationship
haircut.
do you guys have?
wannabes. So
Want to be what? You're already a
better
millionaire.
acquainted.
Want to be friends.
Want to be friends. Want to be business affiliates.
Want to be poker
Or want
buddies.
poker buddies. Right.
Strip poker?
Wannabes. Well, stop.
That was his other job.
Stop.
I know you.
No, you don't.
Is this what do you guys do a back and forth before
No,
you start?
no. It's like an angry.
Is this a Regis and Kelly? Michael and Michael, what's his name?
This is supposed to be like an angry old married couple that just can't get rid of each other.
But
Okay.
I'm always right.
What is your relationship?
Oh, Lord.
and wrote my book,
What's it called?
Wartime retail.
Wartime Retail. We wrote it about how the economy changed in 7 and 8, and how if you didn't pivot, you can be out of business.
Okay.
Right? And she helped write it.
So I've
She
known
wrote
him-
it.
You wrote it?
Yeah,
Or you
wrote it.
edited
in his
it, or-
voice.
No,
Yeah.
she wrote it in my voice.
Yeah.
It had to be hard to do. You had to smoke a lot of cigars.
Yeah. It was interesting.
Some other
It-
stuff.
It took about a year to get through it.
Can we smoke in here?
After the podcast, you can smoke anything you want. Why are you blushing?
I'm not blushing.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Okay. As I
Michael,
asked-
what do you do?
Huh?
What do you do?
Oh, I do all kinds of things.
No. Keep it clean. What do you do?
I do advertising.
Advertising. What's the name of your business?
The name of my company is Fasone and Partners, advertising marketing.
Are you marketing yourself right now? That T-shirt?
Yeah,
Roar.
that and it's black.
Oh, that's my
So I
favorite
get to wear
color.
my favorite color.
That's
and
my
name.
favorite color.
You guys have so much in common.
See that?
Step aside. We don't need you.
How long you been doing advertising?
I've been in the industry for 25 years,
You must have started when you were 7.
20 to 21.
You're not 45. You 45 years old?
Yeah, count the rings.
Hold on. Oh yeah. You are 45
Wait.
years old.
Wait. Oh, we don't have time for that.
Right. You don't have enough fingers and toes. So
Go ahead.
what kind of advertising do you specialize in?
We're full service, so anything from
Oh,
a simple
he means advertising. Go
Get your
ahead.
head out of the gutter.
So, anything from a small brochure to a full-blown media campaign, rebranding, all media types. We're not media bias. We
Okay.
buy what is correct for the client. But full service just means we handle creative fulfillment and media fulfillment.
I used to advertise a lot.
No.
I did, and I was considered pretty good at it.
Really? I thought the bird was the star.
I once
Only
had-
one of us can gang up on him. I think I'm going to.
I've had more than once. Have I had somebody come to me and says, "I'd love to meet that bird. Dude, what do you feed him? Is he really? Is his name really Polly Bob?"
The animated bird?
Yeah, people
They
thought.
wanted to meet an animated bird.
Right.
All right.
And so when people say, "Where's the bird?" I go, "You want me to give you the bird?
Hopefully,
I'll give you the bird.
yeah.
That was later in your advertising.
Uh,
career, wasn't it?
we just celebrated our 40th year in business.
I saw that in lobby.
Yay.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And we did radio for about 3 years at the beginning. And then we flipped to radio and television and did just television for about 20 years.
But the bird, the cheap, that was at the end.
Middle.
Okay.
Middle.
Yeah.
It first started with
Just curious.
caricatures of me doing stupid TV commercials, whether it's in a wrestling ring or drag or something, right? Caricature ads. Then we went to Polybob, and then we went to Sunny, which was an animated me, because I just figured if I got hit by a bus or shot in the back of the head by a jealous husband, we'd have an animated me to carry on the TV commercials.
What's Polybob?
Polybob was the parrot,
Oh, okay.
right? Cheap. Parrots say cheap. We used to sell
I
cheap.
get that part.
You don't
So
want me to draw you a
cheap or
picture?
inexpensive?
Well,
I get
in the
that
beginning of time, it was used. Then we
Yeah.
went to cheap. Then we went to value, and now we're basically full service value.
Okay.
So we have pivoted and changed how we market ourselves. All right. So advertising. How's the industry changed in the last since you've been involved?
You have so many more options now.
Yes,
And you either have to do more with less or do more with more.
I like more with more.
And so do I.
Yeah, of course you do.
And there's certain things that you can't ignore anymore.
like SEOs, websites,
social media.
That's what I was
Social
gonna
Social
say.
media is your new white pages, yellow pages.
Absolutely.
When you started your company, if you weren't in the yellow pages, at least a 2x2 inch listing, you didn't exist in the world. You know, it's like the movie The Jerk when Steve Martin made it in the phone book. He was finally in person. All right, I figured you would get that.
Shithead.
The jerk.
Shithead, yeah.
Okay.
His dog.
You're right.
Yeah, not many people will get that. But, you know, if you weren't in the yellow pages as an advertiser in the late 90s, up to the late 90s, I'd say, you didn't exist. So that was a necessary evil. You had to spend that, however much it was, annually to them. I'd say social media and some other things fall into that category. But you just have so many more options now as a consumer and as a marketer. And I think video has catapulted itself way beyond audio advertising.
So how do you justify it? For me, in the beginning of time, it was newspaper, radio, yellow pages, television,
Right.
direct mail.
And probably a lot of cable for you.
No, not necessarily.
No?
Oh,
Okay.
Late night TV.
Well, I used to tell people say, "Oh, I saw your ads on TV," and I said, "You're staying up too late at night." But in truth, we were
Those
buying
are
a
the
lot.
free ones, though.
Yeah, but in truth, we were buying a lot of morning news.
As you should.
The expensive stuff, because that's when. Okay, but how do you make a decision on what spend and what kind of value are you getting for the spend? I was a big believer in measure and manage. We try to ask every customer to come in, document how they heard about us, looked at the gross dollars in sales, looked at the net dollars in revenue, looked at the spend, what kind of return on investment we were getting. Do you do that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
You should spend a gross percentage of your annual sales on advertising. And you should dedicate that number every year and grow it by 15 to 20% every year, if you can.
Hold on for a second.
Mhm.
Every business model is different.
Oh, yeah.
So a car dealership and a retail floor covering store and a restaurant are different
So
animals.
you as a flooring retailer may be more aggressive at like 11%. You may have someone, and I won't think of a category off the top of my head right now, but you may have a category that's less competitive and may only need to advertise at 6 to 8%, but that would still be pretty low.
I will.
And it would also be based on your gross annual can be so large that 5% makes sense. It all depends on, we all have different margins.
There's different motors that run every different business. So, for instance, in the floor covering industry, there is there are floor covering people who just do new construction, floor covering people who do apartment complexes, multifamily, people who do full retail, people who do cheap cash and carry, people who do high-end.
Mhm.
There's about 12, shop at home. There's about 12 different ways you can run a floor covering business. And each way has a different motor. That just because you know how to buy from the mills and hire installers, it's not one model fits all floor covering dealers. So in retail flooring, for instance, the national average is 2 to 3% advertising budget. 11%, they're not making 11% at the end of the year, so it would be impossible for anybody to spend.
Like I said, that varies business to
Right,
business because your gross and
right.
your margins could be so high.
But I love the fact that you say it should increase, because I believe when you set a budget, you should set the budget based on what your goals are to sell, right? So if
let's
you're-
talk about that.
Okay,
You should set a budget, yes, based on what your goals are to sell. That's why you started a budget and a company in the first place, and you engage an agency, or you started the effort, number one. The primary reason you set a budget and then try to increase that 15 to 20% every year, one, that's for inflation. So your budget can stay relevant, because if your budget isn't relevant, then your business isn't relevant.
Yeah.
Then you're stuck just in the penny saver because you didn't grow up with the times. But why you start a budget is so that your business and yourself as a business owner or owners can get used to that being on their ledger, number one. Number two, you've dedicated an amount that you're going to spend towards this. Just like you have a very large building here, you probably have a dedicated amount for maintenance, or maybe you replace this carpet every 3 years. I'm making things up. Don't worry
this
about it.
carpet's been here for 20 years. I
tell.
love it.
I can tell. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Anyway, so I'm just going to use a very small generic number, $100. So your ad budget is $100 for 2024. We're recording this in December 4th, 2023. What that does is it says, okay, for my remaining year, 2024, my budget for advertising is $100. And so you can plan that for the entire year where your $100 goes. What that does is it protects you from when the new whatever comes into town
Can't
and
spend
says,
it. Can't spend
and
it.
says, hey, we got this. Look, it's a 2-week deal. Just give me
Today only.
2,500.
Today
Okay.
only.
That 2,500 plus the 1,500 from the local school paper, plus the Chiefs are, well, they're not real hot right now, but the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and we're going to say this pregame.
The Royals are not out right now.
Whatever, but they can't sell us anyway. We're going to say this pregame package, and it's a fire sale. So now you've spent $7,500, let's say, or $7. Let's keep it in line with our $100.
See, you have gorgeous eyes. Unbelievable.
See, I
Gorgeous.
told you
What
there
do
was
you-
something different about this relationship.
Gorgeous, gorgeous eyes. Really do.
That's because I'm high.
Oh,
They're red.
right, yeah.
You got Visine. What are we looking over there when I said that?
Where?
Wait, HR, quality control. So anyway, you said, so you don't have people, including your agency, nickel and diming you, as it may be, along the way. So all these great ideas that add up to half of your budget or a quarter of your budget. So you've stuck to a budget. Now, the other half of that is having a good partner on that side. If so, see what she did.
I need to leave.
She just got over COVID, and now it's.
I tested negative. Don't freak out.
But you,
Can I hit you some more?
That wasn't a cough. That was like a,
A choke?
yes, just a little.
Did I hit you in the back of the head? Just the back.
Yeah, and the
Oh.
plan worked. I wanted to talk. That was all fake.
but it also, you have that budget in place, and so I forgot where I was going with that, but
You set a budget, and that way you're not distracted from spending money that's not in your budget.
yeah, and it's like, for Sony, it doesn't mean you can't move that $100. Hey, we're soft or we're heavier. We need to spend another $5 this quarter.
I'm a big
We need
believer
to spend
of
another
moving
20,
the
or
goalpost.
we need to pull off. I canceled way too much money at the beginning of the pandemic because that's what we do. Because I know that if I help my clients when they're in a time of need, they'll be there for me in
I'm
the long
fine.
run.
Don't.
But yes.
Something went down the wrong way. Okay.
Tell me about it. Elder abuse.
That's true, Elder.
Now he's gonna bruise.
Always.
He bruises easily. Okay, let me ask
I
my
got an
question.
ego.
Is that
Yeah,
why
go
you're
ahead.
wearing Crocs?
Right.
Did you hear that he said he had an ego? I had no idea.
Who?
I can't,
You have an
I,
ego?
I can't tell. Let me look around.
There's no pictures of me.
Bullshit.
Not
It's
that
everywhere.
many.
One right
I
there.
know.
Well, okay, one or
The
two
common
pictures.
denominator.
I said, can I cuss on here? Is that okay?
She'll
Yeah, but
edit.
you can't say shit.
You just said it.
Oh,
Of all the words?
I was making out.
Oh,
What did I
okay.
tell you?
I want to know about your agency and the team you have and how they contribute their various talents to the products and services that you offer your clients.
Before you, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm
No,
sorry.
before what?
I was
He was just trying to
Busting up-
interrupt and busting
just
my
busting
chops.
chops.
Well, you
No,
first you give
you're
them.
moving out of the screen.
I'm going to cross. Okay,
Yeah, come a little closer.
I
There you go.
can't
Come a little closer.
without.
Come a little closer.
That's not the kind of podcast this is.
We got on video.
Yeah.
What?
You signed the release form,
The
didn't you?
goal. I didn't sign anything, and I got
You let him on
I
and
got-
you didn't get him to sign the release?
You still go by Big Bob, right?
Absolutely.
And I call you David.
You can call me
It
whatever you
confuses a lot of people.
All right.
want. Really.
Yeah.
First, you give them the autonomy to do their job, and you don't micromanage them.
Do you have a big team or do you have like
No, it's a small team. We know we're called the little agency that roars. My father coined that. I did not.
Sounds like a mouse to me.
Well, we're big enough to get the job
There
done,
you go.
but small enough to do it right.
All right.
You don't have layers of management, and I can do anything that a big agency can do. I can just do it a lot quicker and a lot
Without
more
the fixed
efficient.
overhead.
And you have
Without the
direct,
fixed overhead.
well, the minimums, and you
Well,
have
without
direct
the
access.
huge fixed overheads.
Yeah, I'm not going to charge you 3 times for that same commercial.
Understand, you might want to consider, because you're small, you don't have a $250,000 fixed overhead month to pay for the rent, the equipment.
Yeah, my overhead's nice.
Overhead. So you don't have to charge the customer to pay for all that overhead. And that you can pivot on a dime, where it's not a big corporation where you have to have board meetings about whether we can do this or want to do that. You make a decision in 10 seconds. This is the way we're going to go. And the whole team is putting, I don't know if it's 6 or 8 or whatever it is, they're putting their oars in the water at the same time and pulling. So it's a small team that can be coached to move swiftly together to service a client.
Did you come here as a guest or did you come here for like mentorship?
I can't separate the
I
two.
think I came here to mentor him.
Yeah, he could
So-
learn from you.
So I'm going to share with you probably one of my philosophies that will help you close more sales. If you want. Setting a budget has nothing to do about numbers. It has to do with the activities that justify the change in numbers. So if you're not going to increase your advertising, you can't justify setting a number higher. If you can't
A
justify,
sales number, you mean?
you're making a sales call. You're with your existing client. They do $100 a year.
Mhm.
They want to go to $110 a year.
Right.
What are you going to do different to justify that extra 10%? Just show up and say, we want to be 10% more? No, you have to do network groups. You have to do training. You have to spend more on advertising. You maybe have to buy a little bit. You have to do activities to justify the 10% increase. It's not about just setting numbers. It's about activities.
Yeah, you have to shift your media.
Advertising is the biggest variable on how to justify the increased numbers. Because unless you can figure out how to close an extra 10% of your opportunities, how else, or get 10 or 20%, or how about get 10% more customers, 10% more opportunities? How do you get 10% more opportunities? Advertise. That would be a key in the pitch of, if I was selling your services, if you want to increase, you got to spend, and you have to spend wisely. It's not an 80-20. Advertising is not 80-20, even though the adage is advertising is 80-20. You throw all the mud up against the wall and you hope the 20% that sticks pays for all the 80% that misses.
I don't agree with that.
Either do I.
I think that's the client side.
That's right.
That's the client mentality.
Absolutely. And you have to go and say, we don't subscribe to that 80%. We don't do that
But
80%. We have to customize and custom make the 20% that fits you like a glove.
But it's seasoned advertisers like yourself and maybe a few other people down the street from here who've been doing this for, let's say, 2 decades. That they know that you can't outsmart yourself that way.
I don't understand.
Explain what you were just saying about the 80-20. They know that you can't, they know that it's not as nebulous as just throwing 100% of your effort out there. And they know that you can gauge that by really, at the end of the day, your bottom line.
You can. They might not know how to. And it's part of your job description as their partner.
No, that's why I prefaced it with a seasoned advertiser.
Okay.
Someone who's been doing this for 2 decades, like yourself, because you're agreeing with me.
I'm so always agree with you.
Well, that's why we get along.
You're the smartest guy in the room right
How come
now.
you never agree with me?
Don't make me answer that, please.
You guys do this.
No.
Do you guys do this all day?
No.
No. Hell
We
no.
only see
Because you have the 2 more to do it with.
No. This only happens for an hour or 2 a week.
Thank
Thank God.
But you see what I'm saying? So a new advertiser, especially right now, not right now, but especially the past few years,
Right.
They think you can account for every penny. They think if you give them that $100, they will know where $9.55 of it. They think they should know where it went, where every lead went and every click went. You can kind of do that, David, but it's never going to be, you're never going to get, okay, we spent this much and we got this many clicks. How many of those actually converted? You can do that, but you can't do it 100% of the time. Not 100% of the time, but you can't do it client for client, click for click, lead for lead.
Absolutely.
Did this convert?
Right.
Did this? And then if you did do that, you'd be spending so much time doing that
Right. It's
and
not
building
worth
an
the return.
infrastructure doing
Right.
it,
It's not
like
worth the
these
return.
in-house people who build in-house ad agencies.
Right.
That's great. You think you saved yourself an agency commission that doesn't
And you just
exist.
spent $250,000 on
Yeah. Now you have, like, there you go. It's my number. Now you have $250,000 in overhead.
I guess you're right.
Well, you know, you got to pay
Right. You gotta
5,
pay.
6 people a salary, plus.
Who are some of your bigger clients?
I was just going to ask a question, y'all.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
forget that.
I'm
Go ahead.
just kidding.
No,
My
your
question's
turn.
probably not as
Your
good as
turn.
yours. Do you have products that cater to companies of all budgets, or do you have a niche, or somebody has to be at a certain level?
No. So, you know, I mean, there's stories where people would call a larger agency or the larger agencies in Kansas City, and they would hang up on them if they didn't have a minimum of $200,000 or $300,000 to spend,
Right.
you know, annually. Because that's not worth their time. I get a lot of leads from, I won't say their name, but a larger agency. Because if a local window dealer
Right.
or HVAC dealer or car
Guys
dealer calls
spending
them,
$80,000 a year.
Trozzolo can't give them an ROI on their creative alone, let alone the media. It's not worth their time. So they can refer it to me. I can cater that. So to answer your question, sorry, I have people who I just do a brochure work for, and I have an interior designer, and we just do update a brochure for her like once every couple of years, maybe a small media buy. And then of course we have clients where we do everything from the direct mail, the digital, the outdoor, the TV, audio, everything, all the way down to brand guides and white labels and annual reports. So there isn't, you know, I can do from an annual report to a brochure to a business card to a logo to isn't anything. Here's what I like to say. The only thing we don't do, because I think it makes it memorable, maybe, is weddings. And I'll even do a wedding if you pay me enough.
A wedding? Like,
A wedding, yeah. You know, in other words, what
How
does
about
Fasone?
divorces?
Who?
What?
Okay, this was a bad example.
How about a divorce?
no, like
That's a
what
bad
do you do
example.
for a wedding?
I'm saying
Nothing.
the only thing we don't
Nothing.
do.
I want to hear.
The only thing we don't do at Fasone is weddings.
Okay,
So-
but
so
what
you say-
would you? Oh, so you?
I'll do
okay.
anything. What do you have, a brochure? Do you need?
And that went right over your head.
You got $1 million. You need a
That just
full
went over your
branding
head.
Well, I know.
campaign? You
Okay.
need to launch a brand. You need to rebrand.
How do you build a brand?
You need to sell cars.
How do you build a brand?
How do you build a brand? It depends. Is it a new brand?
What?
Is it a new brand?
Guy's been in business for 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Never been able to advertise because he never thought he had the money.
Okay.
But he thinks he now has some traction. He wants to advertise, but someone told him advertising is ineffective unless he has a brand that is recognizable. So he thinks he has to have a brand before he effectively advertises.
So it's assuming this person has budget.
Right.
They have budget. I think the most important,
Was that a good question?
it's a tough one.
Yeah,
Gotta
good.
find the brand, voice, and tone, and we already know yours.
Right.
It's annoying.
Well, let me ask you, how did you brand?
Stupid TV commercials.
They weren't stupid.
They were effective.
They weren't stupid if they worked.
That's right.
And
But by the way, you, because you're a professional, can understand the genius because it was effective. Everybody else saw
here's
the
what's
commercials.
genius. You knew your audience.
Right.
That's the first key, because this is very important. You'll like this. You would have used this maybe, not in your advertising, but
Our philosophy.
the commercial you like may not be the commercial that's best for your client.
Bingo.
You know, we all want to be Kim Kardashian. I want to have I don't want hair, by the way. I love being bald, but we all want to be 6'2", and whatever that perfect weight is, and we all want that. And that's how we see ourselves. But it's a smart businessman, person, advertiser, woman, female, all the adjectives, who can look at their brain and say, yeah, I want to be the apple of Florence. That's not who I am. This is who I'm. I'm cheap. I'm Big Bob. I'm cheesy, but it's successful.
It's not who I am. It's who the customers want me to be.
Well, in this case, you understood who your audience was. You understood who your brand was.
My customers want me to be. My customers want me to be the entry-level price point for a better deal.
More importantly, and this came before that.
Right.
Before your customers came, you came with the idea, not the idea. You knew, you had the vision at a young age that you could take this Bob and turn it into, something. I did this because he's so successful.
You see the map of the United States, all those dots?
I can't see the
Right there,
purple
that big.
dots.
Purple and
I mean, I can kind of. I wear glasses. But
harder.
Oh, God, you're gonna cough up a
Faster.
lung.
use a blunt object. You want my knife? No. But why is that where you are?
We're
Seriously?
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, we were coast to coast, border to border.
But that's to my point. You knew your audience and you embraced it. You very easily could have said, "I'm going to be the classy but sell to." You could confuse yourself, and that's where
the direction we're moving.
That's where a lot of clients though outsmart themselves.
Right.
I want to be, and this is who. Well, let's and that's what we try to do. We do a really good job of letting our creative and our media match our client and our audience.
We have changed, not evolved, changed. Used carpet, cheap carpet, value, full service. And basically along the learning curve, the used carpet might have been a higher gross profit margin, but the average ticket was so small, we hardly had enough money left over to pay bills. As we got it, now that we're doing full service and we're selling homes in Hallbrook or Lee Summit or up north, the expensive neighborhoods also, the bigger tickets, even though it's a smaller gross profit margin, you pay bills with gross profit dollars, not gross profit margins. And that's one of the reasons we've pivoted so that we have more gross profit dollars, even though it's a smaller gross profit margin. That's how we've grown and been successful.
Okay, now I gotta ask this question.
Again, you have to ask a question.
Yeah, dude.
Raise your hand first.
My question is, can you just leave? Just kidding. My question is, how do you see AI coming into this arena?
That's a good question.
I was thinking of that too.
Yeah, sure you were. He's going, what's AI?
Starts with an S.
I've
Can I
had
spell it for
on
you?
my podcast, The Little Agency That Roars, That's the name of my podcast.
Maybe you'd like to have me as a guest someday.
Well, that was the
Maybe
deal.
you might not like
Deal.
to.
I know.
Right.
Well, we already made the
I'm
deal.
gonna wave my.
She has to come too.
No, please don't take it up.
No,
Dude.
she has to come too.
Dude, that's
She's not available.
We'll
that
talk
day.
about that.
She's not available that day.
What was the question?
How does AI? How
Oh,
do you see AI?
So we
coming
talked about this. I interviewed a young gentleman who works at a premier animation studio here in Kansas City, and they are already using that to replace the work that they would do to create background images
Mhm.
on. So you guys can see this wall around us. If they were animating this room,
It's a green screen. We're really not here.
right? They would have to go in and put it in each one of these photos by hand in their edit suite. It doesn't take them a lot of time, but it takes time. With AI, they can autofill. I need 10 sports photos. Okay, great. Here they are. I need 10 classic arts. Okay, great. Here's some Monets
Well,
and
doesn't
Picassos.
that kind of
So it's kind of like I almost see it like email, where I don't think it's going to replace as many jobs as we think. I think it's going to make certain aspects of certain industries work faster and better. But just like we've seen with the internet, that doesn't mean less hours or work.
Yeah,
or
because my
anything.
fear was always like, even as a writer, okay, they're gonna find somebody, they're gonna use AI and replace me, but then you can't replace that human emotional element.
I don't know where it fits into. I mean, I know where it fits into
Copywriting.
writing yet,
I'm
but I
not gonna-
don't know how it evolves yet with writing.
I'm not going to live long enough. You may or may not live long enough. Depends on certain things, but
Depends how
you're-
this podcast
right, right.
goes.
But
From
you're
what
gonna,
you told me
you're
before the
gonna,
podcast.
you're gonna live long enough to see AI become a very dangerous commodity in our society.
You're wearing an Apple Watch.
No, I'm not.
She is.
Yeah, get with
Really?
the times.
She's wearing an Apple Watch. I'm not. You're not. But I mean, we all have AI on us. There's a laptop over here. There's a AI right here. I mean, so there's AI around us. Our phones are listening. Our
He
computers
just
are
doesn't
listening.
have any intelligence.
It's called a
to him
listening
whatsoever.
service.
No, my intelligence is artificial.
Yeah, you're right. It's everywhere. I mean, we enveloped ourselves in it, whether we like it or not.
How would you have treated your business differently if you were, just say 20 years ago, not the beginning of your career, but let's just back up maybe 20 years.
The business that I started 40 years ago, in retrospect, was right for its time. It would not have worked 20 years ago if we started. It was lightning in a bottle timing, unbeknownst to me. If I was to develop from scratch a business 20 years ago or today, it would look a lot more like where we are today and what we're plans for the future going to be, and not so much how we got here. I would have cut all that crap out how we got here and started close to where we're at today.
Why do you feel there's not market, or there wouldn't be market in 2020, or excuse me, 2020 in 2000 or 1995 for your product?
Because if I started with knowing what I know today in 2000, I would know the market would fall apart in 2007. And then it would fall apart again later on.
But
in
that
the
caters
teens.
to your buyer.
Yes
doesn't
and
it?
no. Yes and no.
A recession doesn't always hurt
No,
certain
no,
industries.
no. Yeah, absolutely 1000 correct. Because when everybody else is getting squashed, people were looking for value. They were spending their money. They just want to make sure they got better value for their money.
And they have to compete for market share.
And they have to compete for
You know,
market share to stay
And
alive.
that's a problem we have right now.
Right. So
Because
the
a lot
guy-
of advertisers right now, and I pardon me for interrupting you, is they don't have to compete for market share.
So the entry level price points were getting a very fair market share.
Okay.
The Home Depot, Lowe's, the Costco's, the Walmarts, they're growing like gangbusters in bad economies because the higher end malls, plaza type shopping experiences, as economies get tighter, the discounter gets more market share. The perception of discounter or value gets more market share. Look, there's 7, 8, 9% of America doesn't care what the price is. They're going to buy what they want to buy. the majority of the Americans can't afford the luxury services and the luxury products anyways.
How's your market share now versus 20 years ago?
Much smaller. Much smaller. When we first started on a good Saturday, I was writing 40, 50 invoices a day out of each store.
That's a lot.
Wow.
Right. But the average ticket was $250, $300.
Okay.
On a good Saturday today, we're writing 12, 15 tickets.
That seems good.
That's a good one. Average ticket, 2,500.
Okay.
Right. So the volume is going crazy. But, and by the way, I think our closing ratio has gone from 60% down to 50%. So if we were writing 40, 50 invoices on a Saturday, we were probably getting close to 100 people coming in the store in a day. Today, if we're writing 15 tickets a day at a 60% closing ratio, we might get 30, maybe. So, and that's a busy, cranking,
That's a lot.
big
And
day.
I'd like to get into how that correlated with your advertising at the time, but I think that'd be very boring for whoever's watching. And I don't know how much time we have.
Well, I don't have a
but
watch.
I mean,
Yeah, well, maybe you should get an Apple Watch.
no.
Just kidding.
Is that
So am
AI?
I doing something terrible? I use this for my exercise.
I know you're not doing anything terrible. Everyone has one.
Yeah, it's recording us right now. It's listening to our every thought.
I just prefer not to have one.
Me too.
Those are called listening services, and they're
Listening.
very valuable.
The Chinese are listening to everything
Hey,
you're
all I
doing.
care about
No,
is that I get
they're
my
not in
steps
China,
in.
actually.
Please don't
right.
be that guy,
Let me, okay.
the straight guy. I don't need you to be the straight guy. I got a straight guy over here. You don't have to
He's
be the straight guy,
confusing
too.
and kind of worrisome.
True. Very worrisome.
Straight guy for what?
Yeah.
My jokes.
All right.
Uh,
Here's a question for you,
okay.
because
Listen.
Okay.
you are, well, no, she can answer too. How
No.
long have you guys known each other?
Since
I'm gonna guess a very
2009.
Oh,
Too
that's
long.
it?
Yeah, too long.
Well, for the book,
Yeah.
That's when she wrote the book.
how did you meet?
Through one of the people who worked for him at a networking event.
company.
Okay. So you've been doing this a very long time.
Yeah.
You have a very, very well-known brand,
Right.
very well-known name.
Yeah. What's the question?
Ooh,
Jeez, settle
Fuck,
I'm
down.
gonna go real slow with it now.
Yeah, backpedal.
I'm gonna molasses my way into this one. How old were you when you? No. So, do you have things personally that you wish you would have done differently when you were growing your business?
Absolutely.
And I don't mean,
Regrets?
not those. We all have those, I hope. But I mean something not related to business, but to yourself. How you were handling yourself during.
I think I would have gotten medicated a lot earlier in life.
Okay.
Dedicated.
No, I mean
No.
I think you're being half sincere.
I was too intense. I'm less intense now.
Yeah. When I
Right.
first met him.
No, hold on.
Hold
I
on.
love you.
Okay.
I love you. I did not mean to do that. Give me
That's
give
okay,
your
no,
Apple
no.
Watch. I'm gonna hug it.
Okay.
Keep talking.
I was too intense, too impatient. Tried to hold everybody to my values where I set the bar instead of allowing them to run as
I might be as successful as you one day then.
I'm a big believer that everybody should show up for work, a job they enjoy, and a job that challenges them to do the best they can do and find happiness in a job that allows them to do the best they can do. I was a former athlete. I was one of the guys who liked to get my ass kicked if I wasn't doing it right. Don't need the pat on the back. I need the ass kick. And just assumed everybody else wants their ass kicked to get the best out of them too. 40 years later, I realized,
Was that something that was taught to you, or not directly or indirectly from a parent, or is that something
coaches,
you had in you?
sports, me,
It was
driven,
you.
yeah.
What
Always-
sport?
All sports.
All sports?
I mean, I played 4 sports in high school, 3 sports in college.
Okay.
Coached afterwards.
Ask him what his favorite sport is now.
Yeah, watching TV. So I was competitive, ambitious, charging, aggressive.
Did you grow up with money?
No.
He's
Not
from New
really.
York. Maybe that's cultural stuff too.
And I just assumed I wanted to be surrounded by other people who were that
Intense.
intense on moving forward.
Tell me how you realized that you were too intense and that you were too much for not just to be successful, but for the people around you. Were you told it? Were you told it negatively? Were you told it positively? Did something happen?
That one time I bailed you out of jail.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I don't know if there was a aha moment. I don't know if it happened over a 20 years period of time, but I'm not as intense as I once was. And maybe it's wisdom, maybe it's metabolism, maybe it's
Medication.
medication, maybe it's I don't take regular BMs anymore.
Oh
I
my
don't know.
God.
Stop. I don't know why, but I'm not nearly as aggressive as I once
And I
was.
can attest to that. Since I've
And-
known you, you've
And I'm
chilled.
still aggressive. And I'm still a bull in a china closet. But 40 years ago, I was a rage. Got to get done. Got to get it done.
And you fed that
Intensity.
into your employees.
Tried to.
You tried to.
Tried
Are
to.
you boys like that?
Sound familiar?
No, very familiar.
Right.
Very familiar to myself.
Right.
My father was not that way.
No, your father's a sweetheart. Soft, gentle, kumbaya
He's
type of guy.
smooth. He's smooth.
Yeah.
What
Kumbaya type of guy.
Mm,
I'm not so
What's his
kumbaya.
background? Your dad?
Advertising.
Oh, he was.
Well, there's more than that. I mean, he owned a modeling agency. He owned a used record store, the first one in the Midwest.
Wow.
And after selling both of those, he started Fasone. But yeah.
Right.
Did you?
Why don't you say these questions for your podcast? Let me ask
Perfect.
you more
Yeah.
questions
Come
about
on.
you. What do you do when you're not working?
Think about work?
One of those.
I love it.
I do my creative. I have a business partner, by the way,
Yeah.
and you know that.
Right.
And we are 50-50
Right.
at Fasone Partners, Carol Ann Gotti. I do not do this on my own. And the reason why I said technically in the beginning is because there's not an E in Michael. So it's Michael without an E, which legally doesn't make me a junior.
Okay.
Whatever.
Misspelling at time of birth.
Misspelling at times.
Oh, no. It was
That was
it was on
intentional?
purpose.
So I got a
So
question.
I think about,
Your creativity.
I love to watch, I love to consume media. And I don't know if you were joking when you said your biggest hobby and I was watching TV or whatever
Yeah.
you just said, but
Movies.
I love to consume media. I want to see what's being done. I enjoy that. Like I tell my employees on the Friday, when we leave on Fridays or Thursdays, I say, don't forget to watch, don't forget to consume.
When do you do your creative thinking?
When
Can
I'm
you-
awake.
Well, by the way, if you ever read my book, one of the things is if you only dream while you sleep, why get out of bed in the morning? Right. But
It's because I sweat so much when I sleep, David. It's just,
That's
it's
all right.
awful. And
So-
the terrors.
I can't be, I am not nearly as creative if you sit down and say, okay, come up with an idea. If we started having a conversation about how to sell more fans, I'll come up with something. But within 3 days, something's going to hit me that's genius, that's never been thought of before about how to sell fans.
Right.
God bless you.
But that's why you can't stop.
Right.
And I do everything in my head. So I produce in my head, I write in my head, I direct in my head. It drives my partner crazy because she'll want to know where are we with this unless I have it. It's just,
Okay.
it's like, well, that's great if something happens to you tonight,
Right.
then I'm kind of up a creek tomorrow morning. But
That's where this comes in handy because I run every morning at 4:30, and when I have my ideas, I speak them into my watch, so I don't forget.
I put little notes in my phone, like your address to this building. I had to put it on my phone, even though I've been here multiple times. We used to hang out in here and jam, you and I. But I'm always thinking.
Must be tough to fall asleep at
Do you
night.
It
vacation?
is. It's
Yeah, really
very,
tough.
very difficult to sleep.
Are you on medications?
To sleep?
Yeah.
No, I was.
Do you do any other medications?
Of course.
Pharmaceuticals?
Yeah, from time to time.
All right. Recreation drugs?
Not anymore. They're not recreation anymore. They're,
Yeah, legal.
They're medical.
Nah, we're not doing
Dude.
that. Where do you go on vacations?
I don't vacation.
Really?
No.
All
Your
right.
family?
Where did you go to school?
Okay,
Which
dude.
school?
Family.
K through 12. K through 12. That's not right. K through 8. St. Shreves.
Okay, good school.
High school, St. Pius.
Better.
College, Park College before it was university.
Which one?
Park College. It's now Park University.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Good.
Yeah,
It was. It's small. It was small.
it's a
So it's
beautiful
small.
school.
On the outside.
Enough said, right?
I know some of the top.
Well, the building
administrators
hasn't
there.
been renovated since 19.
I know some of the top administrators there.
Who?
President.
Oh, what's your name?
To him.
It is.
See,
Do you know?
your name drop.
Do you know any of the professors there?
Maybe one.
John Laughlin?
No.
Or okay.
All right.
I had a great professor there. 2 of them, amazing.
Family.
Yeah, they're around.
All right.
Pets?
No, not yet.
Pet peeves?
Oh,
Now,
all kinds of them.
yeah, he's going to invite us to come together.
But you
To do
just
his
banned me
podcast.
from it.
Well, not if he invites you. I don't have the
You
authority.
even presume to know my schedule. How dare you?
There's a lot of things I presume about
I
you.
know, and they're usually wrong.
True. If you want the total package, you got to invite her and work around her schedule.
That's fine.
If you want me, I'm always available.
I want the total package. Or do you? How about this? What if you and I go and then we do? Would there be a reason to do a second version? We could
I
talk-
know what it could be. He could,
No, we'll do the book. We'll do the book with you and her, and then you and I can do whatever we need to do.
or
Or-
do
or-
one
or-
with him, and then I come on and write all the wrongs he said about me. Explain everything.
Are you a professional author? Is that what
I've
Oh,
been
yeah.
a writer my whole life. Yes, I've written for all types of
But
media.
you're also in marketing.
Would you like your story written?
No,
She can
He's
he's
write
got
your story.
writers.
You can't write that part. You can't write most
Yes,
of my
you
story.
can.
No, you can't write most of my story.
You might not distribute it, but you can write it.
No, you can't.
Really?
Yeah.
That bad or that good?
That good.
Yeah, I knew it.
David
Look at
knows some of
look
my
at those
people.
eyes. Look at those eyes.
David used to work with some of my
Yeah.
people.
All right.
But don't change the subject that quick. Don't get
No,
nervous.
I'm
Don't
not
get
blushing.
nervous.
I'm not blushing. I'm
not
not
with it.
blushing,
I'm going
It's
to
a
bring
red
up your
shirt.
business partners.
brother. It was been absolutely brilliant seeing
It's
you.
good seeing you.
Thank you very much.
You look great.
And we look forward to doing his show. Yes.
Yeah.
If you're working in your schedule.
I'll text you. I'll figure something out for the
All
three
right.
of us and the 2
Okay.
of us.
I got a parting gift. You want to read my book?
Yes.
Why
Do
don't
I have to
give-
read it here?
Isn't it down there? I don't know where you keep it. Is it in
Yeah,
that?
I'll
box?
get it to you.
Orange
before you
bag is
No,
mine.
No. All right. So, nighty night. Sleep
Thanks.
tight. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Bob.
And
Ann.
yeah.
Thank you, Ann.
So you don't need to.
Thank you,
remember.
David.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.